I just say to those people, listen, we may not have started this culture war, but we're going to win it. We are going to win it.
So this is absolutely unhinged from Josh Hawley because, of course, the Republicans definitely did start the culture war in the sense of they're the ones that declared that there was a culture war in the first place. Most normal people would call it just the basic fight for the rights of marginalized people to exist.
And as for corporate America and criticizing them, let's get one thing straight. Corporations are not people. And there is no reason why corporate America should control this country.
So how exactly do these two dots connect for Josh Hawley? Now, of course, we know Josh Hawley doesn't actually care about reining in giant corporations or anything like that. So I wonder if the next thing he says might indicate what he's actually trying to get at when he talks about giant corporation.
I've got news for these corporations, these woke corporations. We are not going to surrender this nation to the cultural Marxists in the C-suite. No way, no how.
And there it is. For those of you that don't know, cultural Marxism is just a rebranding of what the Nazis called Judeo-Bolshevism. It is quite literally a Nazi conspiracy theory that a secret group of powerful, wealthy Jewish people were turning people gay and trans and communist in an effort to undermine German society. Does that sound anything similar to Josh Hawley saying that giant corporations are somehow making people gay and or communist? That perhaps that's what they mean when they talk about this woke mob, or specifically giant companies being woke? Because you'll notice the Republicans don't actually do anything to rein in the actual power of giant companies. In fact, their policies are very much supportive of these giant companies, especially when it comes to giving them less regulation from the government, more individual dictatorial power over the workplace, and of course, lucrative tax breaks. But it's incredibly useful for Josh Hawley to use the language of giant corporations because it allows him to have some sort of mass appeal while masking what he's actually saying. You see, most Americans do agree that giant corporations have too much power. Most Americans agree that millionaires and billionaires really shouldn't have the influence that they have over our political system. And so Josh Hawley uses language like that in order to try and win people over, when in actuality he reveals what he's really saying when he uses the phrase cultural Marxism, to signal to the white supremacists and the neo-Nazis that he's really on their side, that he's not actually concerned about the power of giant companies, but instead is pushing a deeply anti-Semitic conspiracy theory, one that has quite literally been around since Nazi Germany, that they use to justify their horrific genocidal policies. And so it is deeply, deeply concerning that there are elected officials in the United States of America that are willing to push those exact same conspiracy theories. And that's why it's so important to recognize these things for what they actually are. The right pretends to criticize capitalism, but what they are actually doing is pushing a deeply anti-Semitic conspiracy theory. They claim that any push for civil rights is secretly coming from the most powerful people in society in order to connect their targets of marginalized people with some vague sense that people have that millionaires and billionaires have too much power. And by conflating these two things, what they do is they take marginalized people and pretend as though marginalized people are secretly the ones that are actually in power. And so this is not Josh Hawley criticizing corporate America in any way. This is Josh Hawley pretending that marginalized people are the paragons of the worst parts of capitalism. The tides have turned in the public space so much that it's just more profitable to not be homophobic or transphobic. They just literally make more money when they market towards queer folk. It's not some ridiculous conspiracy theory to turn people gay or trans. But ultimately, this is what makes the current Republican Party all the more dangerous, because they are so willing to embrace these anti-Semitic conspiracy theories, and they are willing to fully embrace policies that would effectively criminalize the existence of trans people. It's very much connected to their policies where they try and legalize running over protesters, where they try and strip healthcare away from marginalized people and allow doctors to deny healthcare to trans people and gay people. Because of course, The goal that the Republican Party has is at the end of the day the same goal that the Nazis had, which is the extermination of queer folks across the board and the absolute subjugation of marginalized people in general. And so it's important that we walk away remembering that whenever Republicans use the phrase cultural Marxism, they are actually referring to a deeply anti-Semitic conspiracy theory that has been around, unfortunately, for over 100 years. They've just updated the language so that they can get away with saying it and have some degree of plausible deniability. And no matter what we do, we should not allow them to have any of that plausible deniability. Because to anybody that's paying even a little bit of attention, the intentions of the Republican Party are as clear as day. And we need to be very straightforward in addressing that fact.